All these countries are going to get together who are going belly up. They've all got some major problems, and Mr. Chapman left us hanging right there. And what is going to happen to the countries that Greece, Spain, UK, US, all these countries that are in real serious financial trouble? What are they going to agree to? Go not pay their debt, to go belly up on the sovereign funds?
What they'll do is they'll revalue and devalue all the currencies in the world against one another. Then they will have a debt moratorium and default. And my guess is the default will end up being 2/3 of the debt will be written off between countries. 1/3 will be left and have to be paid. I think that all of the countries that we've mentioned, and then some, because the system will deteriorate even further over this next 1 to 2 years, they will all probably, and that includes the United States of America, officially devalue their currencies. And I expect in the United States it'll probably be 1 for 3. And I think that the euro will break up. I think there will be a phase-out phase, and they'll go back to their currencies because the whole thing was unnatural in the first place, and I won't go into it, the history of it. And that will be followed by a very, very severe deflationary depression. And this is where this is headed. Now, in the meantime, we may have a lot of inflation or hyperinflation, but that should dissipate over a relatively short period of time now, a year or two, and then we're going into the ditch.
You've got two investments, as I see it, that might be very, very good during this period. Gold and silver should certainly hold up. And I would think if you own property and it's all paid for, that might not be that bad if it's good property and it's already paid for. But gold and silver is your primary investment, isn't it, Mr. Chapman?
It is. You're in a long-term bull trend in both metals, and it probably will end up being the biggest bull market in the history of mankind. And people just don't envision it yet. Second of all, if you're living in a home and it's paid for and it's worth $200,000 right now, and it used to be worth $450,000, then you can expect it to get down to $100,000, and if you can handle that, that's fine. But that's where we're headed. I mean, there's 12 months of inventory out there, including the shadow defaults that the banks have that they're hiding. And at the same time, I noticed that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are now subsidizing building companies to build more homes for which there's no buyers. I mean, this thing is so insane, it's unbelievable. And so you want to be a renter. You don't want to be an owner or a buyer in real estate. And you want to be the safest possible place you can be, gold and silver-related assets. And there is no other place to go. If you've got a lot of money and you insist on having something other than gold and silver-related assets, buy Canadian and Swiss treasuries. Those two currencies will hold up better than any others in the years ahead. And they'll probably come out when inflation and all that is said and done slightly ahead of what you've got now, but you won't have to go through the pains of losing money by holding U.S. treasuries, which will go down in value. In fact, they may never be paid off.
Gold and silver, that's your best bet. Now, here's the example that you give in the International Forecaster. Greece had a budget deficit of 12.7% of their GDP, and they're told, bring it down to 3%. Spain had 11.7% of their GDP. They're told that they are absolutely in default. They're in real trouble. Their basket case. The U.S. has a deficit Budget deficit of 11.3%. We're not hearing about that. We're almost in as bad a shape as Spain and Greece, aren't we?
In many ways, yes. But I think the bottom line is they're all going bankrupt. And they're going to pull everybody else with them because everybody's holding everybody else's paper. You know, a year ago, before this last December 30th, or is it 31 days in December? I can't remember. But anyway, the percentage of dollar holdings in the foreign exchange accounts of other countries was 64.5% at the beginning of 2009. At the end of the year, it was 61.8%. And I can assure you right now, it's under 60%. And the foreigners are dumping their dollar-denominated assets. And they're going to continue to do so. Now, if they're doing it, shouldn't you be doing it too? Shouldn't you be getting rid of those CDs at banks that you may never collect on? Or the cash value life insurance policies and annuities that you never may collect on because they may not be in business? Think about it. The only place where your wealth can be is in gold and silver-related assets.
Now, the people in Britain, their retirement income is off 72% the last 10 years, from 8,998 pounds to 2,572 today, and they've got a retirement tax they're putting on people that is just absolutely incredible. They're trying to put that on. Aren't they running absolutely out of money? Because that tax that they're talking about would tax a lot of people, about half of Britain, at 100% of what they have. This is a final grab to get every bit of money out of the British, isn't it?
It certainly is, and you're going to see the same thing eventually happen here. And in Britain, now, they've increased the taxation on high-income people, and an exodus has just begun. They're fleeing the country because they don't want to pay the taxes. And their rules are that our nationals, British, if they live in another country and they pay taxes there, or they don't pay taxes there, either or, they don't have to pay taxes in the United Kingdom.
Oh, get out quick if you're in Britain. What's in your wallet? If it's Capital One, they are going up to 15.31% from their introductory rate of 8.01%. So what's in your wallet? They did all this big push to get people into Capital One, and now all of a sudden, boom, they turn around, they're hitting you right in the gut with a huge, almost double increase from 8.01 to 15.31. Absolutely ridiculous, absolute insanity. Mr. Chapman, one of the things that we need to talk about, we've got two, and one I want to cover with you, is housing in the U.S., and also the big one that you've been doing a lot of writing about is commercial real estate. It's off 40% from 2007. $1.4 trillion need to be financed by 2014. Half of them are underwater now. That means they owe more than to the bank than the property's worth. When this thing hits, that's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch, isn't it?
It certainly is, and it's in the process of hitting, and it's just going to get worse. I expect a 75% loss.
Wow. More when we get back on Erskine Overnight. Robert Chapman, the international forecaster. Mr. Chapman has, in the international forecaster, a very interesting thing. 231,000 new homes for sale, 3.3 million existing homes for sale, 3.5 million houses are vacant, plus there are units owned by banks and creditors. That is a huge amount. When you're talking about that they're holding back because they're just not putting them on the market because they're going to lose too much money on them. They're going to have to put those on the market eventually, and you've got interest rates going up, you say, toward the end of March. We should see between the end of March and the 1st of June a big drop in house values if with all that you're indicating. Is that a correct assumption to take out of that, Mr. Chapman?
Yes, it is. It might last further into the year as the economy goes sideways because of the stimulus that's hitting the economy, and that depends in part whether Congress gives the president what he wants, and we don't know that yet. I do know that word came down today on the appropriations bill that the Senate is going to vote on it next week, but I am very interested to see if the Senate is going to include H.R. 1207, which was Ron Paul's bill to investigate and audit the Federal Reserve. And so I want to see what a final form this comes out in. The head of the committee is Dodd, and he's retiring, and I think he's going to try to pull it out. But a great deal depends upon and how this evolution comes about economically and financially. Those problems that we discussed earlier with the bankrupt sovereign countries